1. The pizza awareness mindset. Stop looking for signs and start looking for hard data. Most men approach dating with a massive blind spot. They operate entirely based on their own level of interest. If they find a woman attractive or charming, they immediately shift into pursuit mode. They spend hours overthinking their next text, planning the perfect date, and imagining a future together, all without stopping to ask one fundamental question: does she actually like me back? This is a psychological trap that leads to wasted time, crushed egos, and months of chasing ghosts. To break out of this, you need to adopt a concept I call pizza awareness. Think about the last time you had an intense craving for a delicious hot slice of your favorite pizza. You could practically smell the cheese and taste the sauce. Your desire for that pizza was a 10 out of 10. Now, ask yourself a seemingly ridiculous question. Did it matter if the pizza wanted you back? Of course not. The pizza is an object. It has no feelings, no agency, and no interest in being eaten. Your intense craving for that pizza had zero impact on the pizza itself. In the world of dating, men often treat women like that pizza. They think that if they just want her hard enough or show her enough attention, she will eventually reciprocate. But a woman is not a slice of pizza. She has her own internal compass of attraction, and your level of interest in her is a completely separate variable from her level of interest in you. They are two different tracks running in two different directions. Understanding this distinction changes your entire strategy from one of convincing to one of filtering. You have to realize that in dating, you cannot go from 0 to 1. If a woman has zero initial interest in you, meaning she doesn't feel that spark or basic openness to who you are, there is no magic trick, no perfect line, and no amount of persistence that will spark a flame from nothing. You cannot negotiate attraction. Many guys waste years trying to turn a no into a yes, thinking that if they just prove their worth, she'll change her mind. She won't. If the foundation is 0, the result will always be 0. You are essentially trying to build a skyscraper on quicksand. However, the game changes entirely if she is at a 1. If there is even a tiny flicker of interest, a 1 out of 10 on the scale, you have something to work with. If she is open to you, your behavior, your confidence, and your character can absolutely build that 1 up to a 10 over time. This is where your effort actually pays off. Your goal is to stop pouring your high-octane energy into women who are closed off and start focusing exclusively on the ones who have already opened the door, even if it's just a crack. You are looking for green lights, not trying to paint a red light green. This shift in perspective is the ultimate shortcut to success. Her interest level is the single most important factor in any interaction you will ever have with a woman. It doesn't matter if you are planning a first date or celebrating your 50th wedding anniversary. The health of the relationship is dictated by the strength of her interest in you. If her interest is high, she will make things easy. She will forgive your small mistakes, and she will move mountains to see you. If her interest is low or non-existent, every step will feel like an uphill battle in a mudslide. By prioritizing her interest level over your own, you reclaim your power and your time. You stop being a pursuer, hoping for a chance, and start being a selector, looking for a partner who is already excited to be in your presence. If the interest isn't there from her side, nothing else you do will ever matter. So stop looking at how much you want her and start looking at the data of how much she wants you. 2. Trust actions, ignore words. Stop listening to what she says and start watching what she does. This is one of the hardest lessons for men to learn because we are logical creatures who take words at face value. If a woman tells you, "I'm just really busy right now," your logical brain tries to solve the problem of her schedule. But in the world of attraction, words are often just a polite smokescreen. You have to understand the social reality. Women are socially conditioned to be agreeable and to avoid direct conflict. Because of bad past experiences with men who reacted aggressively to rejection, many women will choose the path of least resistance. They might give you their number, laugh at your jokes, or even agree to a date just to keep the interaction pleasant or to exit the situation safely. If you base your confidence on her polite words, you are building your house on sand. You need to become an investigator of movement, not a collector of compliments. The most common trap is the vague rejection. A woman who is not interested will almost never say, I am not attracted to you, please stop calling. Instead, she will say, I'd love to, but I have a crazy week. Or, let's touch base later. If she says she's busy but doesn't immediately follow up with a specific alternative, like, I can't do Thursday, but I'm free next Tuesday, that is a no. Period. High interest creates a desire to solve problems. Low interest creates excuses. When a woman likes you, she becomes a diplomat trying to make the schedule work. When she doesn't, she becomes a ghost. If you find yourself constantly trying to decipher the meaning behind a text message, you've already missed the point. The meaning is in the lack of presence. If she isn't showing up, she isn't interested. It really is that simple. On the flip side, you have to be careful not to be fooled by cold words when the actions are hot. This is where many men get discouraged and quit right when they are winning. Sometimes a woman will tease you, challenge what you say, or act a bit bratty. She might say things like, You're trouble, or I bet you say that to everyone. To a guy who is only listening to words, this sounds like a rejection or a bad attitude. But if she is saying those things while leaning toward you, maintaining intense eye contact, or lingering in your personal space, she is actually displaying incredibly high interest. She is testing your frame and your confidence to see if you'll fold under a little pressure. If her mouth is saying go away, but her body is staying exactly where it is, trust the body every single time. Ultimately, you need to develop a behavior first filter. Always prioritize the physical reality of the situation over the verbal narrative. Ask yourself the hard questions. Is she actually showing up to the dates on time? Is she responding to your reach out with energy, or is she giving you one word answers? When you are together, is she finding excuses to touch your arm or sit closer to you? These are the data points that don't lie. A woman can tell you she likes you 1,000 times, but if she flaked on the last two dates, she is telling you the truth through her feet, not her tongue. Conversely, a woman might never say a single nice thing to you, but if she's always available when you call and she's physically affectionate when you're together, her interest is sky high. Stop being a fan of her words and start being a judge of her actions. Actions are the only honest currency in dating. Everything else is just noise. 3. The power of I'd rather know now. To achieve true success in the dating world, you must become 100% comfortable with the possibility of rejection. This isn't about being cold or emotionless. It's about understanding the massive psychological divide between desire and need. It is perfectly healthy, natural, and masculine to want a woman, to be drawn to her beauty, her personality, and her energy. However, the moment that want turns into a need, you have lost the game. When you feel like you need a specific woman to like you in order to feel validated or happy, you become paralyzed by the fear of her reaction. This fear creates hesitation, and hesitation is the ultimate attraction killer. It forces you to play it safe, to hide your intentions, and to linger in the friend zone, hoping she'll eventually notice you. This passive approach is a slow poison. It leads to months of wasted time and eventually turns into deep-seated resentment when she inevitably chooses a man who had the courage to be direct. You must adopt the life-changing mantra, I'd rather know now. This mindset is your shield against anxiety and your engine for progress. Think about the mental energy guys waste pining over a girl for weeks, analyzing every like on social media and every casual hello, wondering if she's interested. That is a form of self torture. I'd rather know now means you ask for the number in the first conversation instead of wondering about her for a month. It means you ask her on a clear, specific date immediately rather than hanging out as a group for 6 months. It means you go for the kiss when the moment is right, knowing that a no or a turned head is infinitely better than sitting in the friend zone for a year, acting like a platonic pal while your heart is actually racing. You are choosing the sharp, quick sting of a potential rejection over the dull, chronic ache of uncertainty. Your job in dating is not to sit around hoping that she likes you. Hope is a terrible strategy. Your real job is to act as a detective of truth, to find out exactly where her interest level stands as quickly as humanly possible. When you seek the truth directly, you stop being a victim of circumstance and start being the leader of your own life. If you find out she isn't interested, that is actually a massive win. Why? Because you have just been handed the gift of time. You can stop investing your emotional energy, your money, and your focus into a dead end. You are now free to move on to someone who is actually excited to be with you. Rejection isn't a failure. It's a data point that allows you to recalibrate and focus on a better target. Ultimately, being direct is the highest form of self respect and respect for her. It shows that you value your time and hers far too much to play games or hide behind a mask of just being friends. When you operate from a place of, I'd rather know now, you project a level of confidence and transparency that is incredibly rare and highly attractive. You aren't seeking permission to exist or permission to be interested. You are simply stating your intent and allowing her to respond. If she's on board, you move forward with clarity and passion. If she's not, you exit the situation with your head held high and your dignity intact. By seeking the truth immediately, you ensure that you never spend another day wondering what if, and you pave the way for a relationship built on genuine, mutual attraction rather than guesswork and hesitation. 4. Testing the waters, the name and number tests. You need to stop guessing and start measuring. High value dating is all about gathering intelligence, and that intelligence gathering should begin the very second you open your mouth to speak to a woman. You aren't there to entertain her or to perform like a circus act. You are there to see if she is worth your most valuable resource, your time. This starts with a simple clinical diagnostic I call the name test. It's incredibly subtle, yet it's one of the most powerful ways to gauge her baseline interest immediately. After you've engaged in a few moments of normal conversation, simply ask, by the way, what's your name? Then, and this is the crucial part, you must shut up. You must go silent and wait. In a balanced, healthy interaction where she has even a shred of interest, the social law of reciprocity will kick in. She will tell you her name, and then she will ask, and what's yours? Or, I'm Sarah, and you are? If she asks for your name back, she has passed the first hurdle. It means she is at least curious about who you are, or, at the very least, socially competent enough to engage. However, if she gives you her name and then just stares at you, or turns back to her drink, or waits for you to keep talking without asking who you are, take that as a massive red flag. If she doesn't care enough to learn your name within the first 3 minutes, she won't care about your life 3 months from now. Recognize that zero interest immediately and move on without looking back. Once she passes the name test, you move into the phase of qualifying questions. Most guys spend the entire conversation trying to prove how cool or successful they are, effectively trying to sell themselves to her. You are going to do the exact opposite. You are going to make her sell herself to you. You want to see if she is more than just a pretty face. Ask a question that requires her to dig a little deeper, such as, tell me something awesome about yourself that I wouldn't know just by looking at you. Or, What's one thing you're actually passionate about right now? Pay extremely close attention to the effort she puts into her response. Is she giving you one word answers like, I like traveling? Or is she leaning in, eyes lighting up, giving you a detailed story because she wants you to see her in a positive light? When a woman puts effort into her answers, she is subconsciously trying to qualify herself to you. She is trying to impress you. This is a massive indicator of interest because it shows she values your opinion and wants to keep the connection moving forward. If she's giving you nothing but, I don't know, or not much, she's failing the test. She's not putting in the work, which means she's not that interested in the outcome. The final diagnostic in this initial phase is the number test. Asking for her number is a moment of truth, but most men miss the most important part of this transaction, the how. It isn't just about getting the digits, it's about reading the energy behind the exchange. When you say, you seem pretty cool, let's get your number so we can get together sometime, watch her body language like a hawk. Does she fumble for her phone with a smile, maybe acting a little bit nervous or excited? Does she make sure you have the right spelling of her name? That is high interest. On the other hand, does she look like she's performing a chore? Does she hesitate, look at her friends, or give it to you with a flat, bored expression? Getting the number is merely a checkpoint, not the finish line. A polite number is often a fake number or one that will never lead to a date. You are looking for that spark of genuine enthusiasm. By layering these tests, the name test, the qualifying questions, and the number test, you create a filter that catches the time wasters and ego strokers early, leaving you with the women who are actually excited to see where things go. You aren't just getting a girl, you are vetting a partner, and these tests ensure you only invest in those who are willing to invest back. 5. The specific date test. The specific date offer is the ultimate diagnostic tool in your dating arsenal. This is where you stop playing games and force the reality of the situation to the surface. Most men fail here because they are terrified of a definitive no. So they resort to weak, non committal language like, we should hang out sometime, or let me know when you're free. This is a massive mistake. Vague invitations lead to vague results. When you ask a woman to hang out sometime, you aren't leading, you're passing the responsibility to her, which is inherently unattractive. Furthermore, a vague request allows a woman with low interest to give you a vague yes, just to be polite, leaving you stuck in a loop of uncertainty for weeks. To break this cycle, you must propose a specific activity at a specific time on a specific day. By saying, I'm going to that new lounge this Thursday at 8 o'clock, you should join me, you are putting a clear choice in front of her. You are essentially saying, I am moving forward with my life and doing something cool. Do you want to be a part of it? This clarity is a high value move because it shows you have a plan, you have a schedule, and you aren't afraid of the answer. Once you drop the specific date offer, her response becomes a crystal clear data point that tells you exactly where you stand. There are only 3 ways this plays out, and you need to pay attention because the nuances matter. The first outcome is a straightforward yes. If she agrees to the specific time and place, her interest is high enough to move forward. The second outcome is a busy with a specific alternative. This looks like, I'd love to see you, but I have a work event this Thursday. Can we do Saturday instead? This is a massive green light. It proves that she actually has a conflict, but is so interested in you that she is willing to do the work of rescheduling to make sure she doesn't lose the opportunity. She is helping you lead. In both of these scenarios, you have a woman who values your time and is actively participating in the creation of a connection. The third outcome is the one that trips most men up, the vague rejection. This is when she says, I'm busy that night. I'm not sure what my schedule looks like, or maybe another time, and then stops talking. Notice what is missing. There is no but, and there is no how about different day. When a woman gives you a busy without an alternative, she is giving you a polite no. In the world of high interest dating, if she wants to see you, she will make it happen. If she's at a funeral in another state on Thursday, she will tell you she's back on Sunday and ask to meet then. If she doesn't offer that alternative, her interest level is below the threshold of one we talked about in pizza awareness. She is essentially telling you that she prefers her current plans, even if those plans are just sitting on the couch, over spending time with you. The moment you receive a vague rejection or a maybe, you must stop contacting her immediately. Do not argue, do not try to convince her, and do not ask her again in 3 days. This is the point of no return. By walking away the moment she shows low interest, you preserve your dignity and your value. You are demonstrating that your time is a limited resource, and you don't spend it on people who are maybe about you. Now, here is the secret. If she actually has a tiny bit of lingering interest, but was just being difficult or truly was overwhelmed, your sudden silence will act as a reset. She will notice that you didn't chase her like every other guy, and she will re engage you on her own terms later. If she doesn't re engage, then you have your answer. You've just saved yourself weeks of checking in texts, wasted mental energy, and the embarrassment of chasing someone who isn't running toward you. You win by knowing the truth early and moving on to the woman who is waiting for a guy with the balls to lead. 6. The low stakes date. The low stakes state is your ultimate insurance policy against being used for your resources and your best tool for uncovering genuine chemistry. In the early stages of dating, you must resist the urge to impress a woman with expensive dinners, backstage passes, or high end experiences. While it might seem like a good idea to show off your lifestyle or your generosity, you are actually sabotaging your ability to read her interest. When you lead with your wallet, you create a clouded environment where you can't tell if she is smiling because she likes you or because she likes the $200 steak you just put in front of her. By keeping the initial investment low, think coffee, a walk in a scenic park, a casual smoothie, or a single drink at a laid back bar, you strip away the external noise. You are essentially saying, the value of the state is the conversation and the connection between us, not the price tag of the venue. This creates a pure environment where the only thing on trial is your mutual attraction. Think of the low stakes date as a strategic filter that separates the investors from the consumers. A woman who has genuine organic interest in you as a man will be thrilled to grab a coffee or go for a hike because she wants to get to know you. She understands that the environment is just a backdrop for the personality. To her, a park bench with the right guy is a 10 out of 10 experience, whereas a five-star restaurant with a guy she doesn't like is a chore. If she's excited about a simple activity, it's a massive green light that her interest is centered on your character, your humor, and your vibe. On the other hand, a woman who is only interested in what you can provide, the foodie call or the ego boost, will often flake, make excuses, or act visibly disappointed when you don't propose an expensive evening. If she scoffs at the idea of a casual walk or a coffee, she has just done you a massive favor by identifying herself as someone who values the transaction over the person. You've saved yourself a fortune in money and, more importantly, weeks of emotional investment in someone who was never really there for you. By keeping the initial investment low, you ensure that the power dynamic remains balanced. When a man spends a lot of money on a first date, he often subconsciously feels like he is buying her time or earning her affection, which creates a needy, supplicating energy. When you keep it simple, you are operating from a place of high self worth. You believe that your company is the prize, and you don't need to bribe a woman to enjoy it. This mindset is incredibly attractive and sets the tone for the entire relationship. It tells her that you are a man who is grounded, confident, and looking for something real rather than trying to buy a result. Finally, the low stake state allows you to be more prolific and relaxed in your dating life. If every first date costs you a small fortune and 4 hours of your time, you will naturally become heavy and over invested in the outcome. You'll start to feel like you need it to work out because you've spent so much. But when dates are easy, fun, and inexpensive, you can relax. You can go on more dates, meet more people, and keep your pizza awareness sharp. You become a selector who is looking for the best match rather than a gambler who is desperate for a payout. If the chemistry is there over a couple of $5 coffees, it will be even better later when you decide to treat her to something special. But always remember, the special treatment is a reward for her high interest and investment, not a bribe to get her through the door. If she's happy to do something simple, you know her interest is the real deal.